Okay. Well, thank you so much for setting up this time. I really appreciate it. And truly, if you think of questions, so my name is Mark Merrill. I'm the program director over Pennsylvania, all of the interventions and implementations that we're doing there in your district, as well as all across the Northeast. So as you have questions, we've got a lot of groups across the country using this. Many there in the Northeast. I've got Camden that I know is not too far from you. They've been using this for about a year and a half. Similar to how you're using it. So as you have questions or you need anything, I'm always happy to chat. You can always reach me by email, markm@whytry.org, or you can also call 801-705-6145. I'm always happy to help and chat and make sure you have what you need as you get using the program here. So what I want to do for today is just take some time and really review some of the updates that we've made to the curriculum that I think you'll find helpful. We've spent a lot of time over the last several weeks really going through and making sure that everything that we've got, we're trying to make it easier to implement, easier on you. We know there's so many things that you've got to take care of on a daily basis. And so we're really trying to make those things easier for you. So the first thing is, if you don't have access to the WhyTry curriculum, get with either your directors or your case managers, and they can help you get that access. Again, I'm always happy to help. If you ever need from me, we can quickly get you that access. So if you haven't logged into the curriculum in a little bit, you'll see this looks a little bit different. We've added did a site redesign, and we've added some new things. The first thing, just looking at this, you'll see there's this getting started click here front and center. We'll review that in just a moment here, but that has some really important tips and tools that'll be really helpful as you start implementing things. You'll notice here, there's this whole new column here of engagement strategies. So these are specific to various engagement strategies that we have. If you've been through a full training, you know we talked about surrounding the one up. We talked about questions and processing and some of those things. Each one of these has just a small paragraph or a few paragraphs on some of these things that you can access there, including some of the introductory activities. You know, as you're getting started with a group, whether you're online or in person or doing some hybrid of that, a lot of these activities can be really good to help establish a relationship and give you some tools and resources to just getting them engaged and connecting with them. And then you'll see most of the rest of this looks the same if you've logged in before. If this is your first time logging in, obviously we'll go through some of these things here. But the first thing I want to share with you, if you click on this, click here, and I've got this in a new tab, so I'll just load this up here. There's two things here. So this is the idea of this is after you've been through the training, after you've gotten started with this, these are a couple of things. So the first step here is the why, and that's just a review of our approach and really our method of using these tools. And then step two is really the how. So first I'll show you the why here. You know, when we talk about the why, and that's really gets to the foundation of everything we're trying to do. We want to make sure that your foundation is on these new 3 R's. And really it's at the heart of our method and our approach is these 3 R's, which is relationships, relevance, and resilience. When we talk about the relationship, we believe and we found over the years that the relationship is one of the keys to motivation. And so as you're very intentional with these relationships, as you're helping them feel safe, feel valued, and feel heard, that is the foundation for helping that individual or that student to connect with you, but also to open up and really go through some of the challenges that they're facing. And when we have that relationship, and for many of you, this is just second nature, and this is part of why you're doing what you're doing. But we want to just make sure that this is a key part of your understanding of the why of what we're doing. And so this relationship, we have tips and strategies on how to strengthen the relationships or build new relationships. And that's where we talked about surrendering the one up, which is the idea, again, of creating that safety, creating that value for those students. And you can click here to read more. There's all sorts of things that you can read on that. The second R is relevance. And it's really the key to the why. You know, as you think about relevance, there's a couple of different things that we really focus on. You know, if the students can see how their choices that they're making today are having an impact on their future, if they can't see that, answering this question of why try is going to be really difficult for them. Why should I put effort into this? Why should I show up? And what we're trying to help them focus on is really two prongs or two areas. It's one, helping them see the why on their, like in their lives, helping them connect why they need to make good choices today, why they need to be in school, why they need to push forward through some of these challenges. So that's the first prong. But the second is also delivering it in a way that's relevant to them, helping them. If they like to use art, let's use art. If they like to use music, let's focus on the music. So just giving you kind of those two prongs of relevance is a really important factor in this formula of building resilience. And again, you can click read more, and there's additional information there that you can read up on relevance specifically. And really, the third R is resilience. And we say that's our end goal. And one of the things that I want to make totally clear on, a lot of times our kids might be the most resilient kids in our communities. They might be the most resilient kids in our schools, but they aren't thinking of it in those terms. And so what we want to highlight is not that they're not being resilient now, but it's actually highlighting where they've been resilient, where they've shown that resilience. And many of them have that, and others they don't. And so we're trying to help them teach those resilient skills. And that's really what we're going to focus on for the rest of our time here, is those skills of resilience that we're trying to build. And we absolutely believe that resilience can be taught. For those that are struggling with their resilience, that are not showing those characteristics, we have found this formula is crucial in teaching those resilient skills. And again, you can read more on this, but that's the foundation of everything we do with the approach. And honestly, if you take that approach, those 3 R's, and you apply it to any programming, not just the WhyTry program, but any programming, any intervention, you'll find that will be helpful in doing that. So I wanted to just highlight that as kind of the foundation of our approach here. Again, understanding the why now allows us to teach the how a lot more effectively. And so what we've put together here are tutorial classroom lessons that you can use, that you can lean on as a guide on how do I put this together. You know, as you look at, as you go through the curriculum, you'll see we've got over 150 learning activities. We've got all sorts of journal prompts and all these different things. And what we wanted to do with these tutorial classroom lessons is give you a fidelity model that you can follow that will show you how to use these and how to bring all these together in a way that's going to, one, give you a fidelity model, but two, give you something that you don't have to build this out of the gate. You've got these lessons that you can use. Now, this is designed as an 18-week course in this structure. You don't have to use it that way, but this is done so that it breaks it out over 18 different lessons. And you'll see some of these we have 2 lessons on. Again, if you're not using it in an 18-week scope and sequence, don't feel like this is not relevant for you. You can absolutely go in and use these. And I'll click on one here and show you what that looks like and how that's structured for you. But as you can see here, this walks all the way through really an 18-week lesson plan, which is typically a semester. Now, I know this year's a little bit different. And so again, that's where I say, don't stress if you're not using this in an 18-week scope and sequence. If you're using this as a toolkit and you're just pulling out, one lesson here and there, use this lesson as your guide. If you do want to go and do this over a 9-week, you can condense this and do, 2 lessons a week. So there's a lot of different things that you can do here to make it more relevant for your students. So as I click on one of these, so I'm going to click on the reality ride, which is the first one, the first visual. Now you'll notice there's some foundation building that we use, starting with the relationship, some of those introductory activities, creating the WhyTry classroom and the environment. Those are some important things. So I would definitely say, even if you're going to condense this down, I would make sure you cover the things that are talked about there, even if it's not in a full 30 to 45-minute lesson. But I just wanted to add that in there for you. So I've clicked on the WhyTry reality ride walkthrough. So this is lesson number 3. Now you're going to see here, there's some core competencies that we highlight throughout this. Each one of these tutorial lessons highlights a different core competency, just as kind of a reminder for you on some of the skills that we're building as we're teaching this as well. And so as you see that core competency, this one's going to be around using video effectively. You'll see there's either a little paragraph around that core competency, or we've got a little video snippet from one of our trainers highlighting that core competency and how to make sure, when you use that, and this one again, it's videos, we'll have a video explaining, just making sure we understand how to effectively use videos in this lesson. So the first thing is you look at this, we clearly identify what the learning objectives are. This gives you kind of a guide of what are we really working towards on this? What are the key concepts that I want them to pull out of this lesson? And then as you scroll down here, there's all the things that you're going to need for your lesson preparation. The tools that you'll need for this lesson, that PowerPoint file or Keynote file if you're using a Mac. Making sure you've got the videos, the activities, the journal prompts. All of the tools that you'll need here will be clearly identified here and linked so that you can click these, whether you're downloading them or streaming them, whatever you're doing, each of these links will give you the things that you need for those tools. And again, this is designed as something that you can follow that will give you a fidelity model. You'll see here we have some scripted attention getters. As you start the day, as you start the lesson or class, here's some things that you can do to start that and set the tone for what you're going to be doing. Now, here's that core competency I talked about. This is a video of our co-founder, Hans. He actually was part of the training we did in November with your group. But each one of these videos is one of our trainers going over why this core competency is important. And so this is a short video snippet that you can use as you're doing your lesson prep. Again, just highlighting that component of the facilitating of these lessons. And so this then goes through the video, how to prepare to show the video, making sure you're setting it up and staging the questions to be thinking about as they're watching it. And that's going to help setting that up beforehand when you do the discussion afterwards. Now it goes through showing the clip. Now we go through the walkthrough, and this is about a 30-minute. Now, obviously, we know sometimes there's time constraints, and you may need to adjust this a little bit. This is showing you the 30-minute model if you need to condense that. A lot of times the condensing comes in, how long do you discuss each topic and some of those things. So as you go through here, we've got the discussion points, the questions, things to help transition those activities or those discussions into some of the key points that we identified as those learning objectives. And now we have even scripted some of those transitions activities. So I wanted to just show you this. Again, you can scroll through this and see all the different things that are part of this. At the very bottom here, we have something that we found is really helpful. After you've done the lesson, it will help you as you facilitate future lessons. If you can go through this brief exercise, ask yourself what went well, what didn't go as planned. Were there any students that responded in a surprising way? Maybe taking notes of someone that really connected with an activity or with art, so that you have a reminder for the next time, they really connected using that journal prompt or that activity. I want to make sure I highlight that next time. And then even asking yourself, if you were to do this lesson again, what would you maybe do differently? These are important skills that will help you as you go through and facilitating the approach and the tools. So any questions on these tutorial lessons before I go to the next component that I wanted to show you on some of these updates? And if there's not any questions, that's totally fine. I just wanted to give you some time before we move on to the next thing I wanted to show you here. So the next thing I want to show you, I know we're expanding into elementaries. We're using this in different ways now across K through 12. And I'm actually really excited for you to see some of the things that we've done to make that really simple for you to do that. The first thing I want to show you is we have a book list, and this is within, so the way where I got here, so there's two ways to get to these book lists. If you're going through a full unit, you can access it here, which just gives you a full unit of all the tools specific to that learning unit, or you can access it here in these tools. You can see you can access the video resources, you can access the book lists, suggested playlists, the music, all of these things. It gives you ways that you can access these tools from the homepage here. So back to the book list, as you go through this, if you're teaching the tearing off labels lesson or the reality right or whatever lesson you're teaching, we've got a series of books that teach this. These are things that you can do in 5 to 7 minutes. And when you're in an elementary setting, a lot of times this becomes a core part of how you facilitate these discussions and these lessons. And so as you scroll down here, each one of these books teaches this concept of tearing off labels. So we refer back to the visual a lot. So when we're talking about the tearing off labels here, this is the labels around the can. When we talk about these, I want to make sure you see this as well. We do have a secondary version and an elementary version. Now, depending on your situation in your elementary school, you may want to be using the secondary version. That's okay. You don't have to feel like you have to use the elementary, even if you're in that setting. But here's the elementary version of this. We talk about labels that maybe don't describe who we are. And we talk about, what would you want your label to be? What do you want to be known for? In the secondary setting, we talk about, it's a little bit different. You'll see there's a few more things added to this. Now, keep in mind, as you're looking at this, as you're going through this lesson, it's building on these. It starts with here, what is a label? And then it slowly builds out to where you're seeing this full visual. Now, one thing to note, we give you access to that PowerPoint file, that Keynote file, so you can go in and update some of these terms to be more relevant for your kids. Again, if you want to use this for your elementary kids, if they can process this way, then feel free to go in and use these, and just know that you can customize some of these terms to be more age appropriate. But as we're talking about this book list here, I wanted you to see this visual, because this is where it refers back to the visual that we're talking about. And so as you're using these books, whether you're reading it to them or they're reading it to you, there's a lot of different ways you can use these books. We're actually working on so that you can actually link to videos of these. We've got a whole set of videos that teach this concept. And so as you go through the different tools on how to use this with these younger ages, there's a lot of things that we've done to try to make it easy for you to implement in 5 to 7 minute interventions or discussions here. So we have video playlists. So as you're looking through the tools here, we've got video resources that you can utilize. And so again, we'll just stay on the labels if you're using that. These are different videos that teach this. You'll see anywhere from music videos to, we've got a song about "I Am Not My Hair" from a music video. We have another one from Sesame Street. We also have some from some of those book lists that we just read. We have movie trailers. There's a lot of different examples here. Most of these are YouTube videos. We've also got music playlists that you can refer to. Again, elementary and secondary. And so as you go through these tools, know that with each one of them, you'll have an option to click secondary version or elementary version, so that you can pick the one that's going to be most relevant for your setting and for your students. The next thing I want to show you is we put together virtual classroom lessons. As you go through each one of these, what we've done, we've tried to take the components that most adapt to an online environment. And so as you're looking at these virtual classroom lessons, you'll see here we've got an elementary PowerPoint deck and a secondary PowerPoint deck. We've got the whole lesson plan for you, the link to the videos, the different activities. So you can download these and upload these to Google Classroom or whatever platform you're using. You can upload those so that they can do it in a self-paced way, or you can do it where you're sharing your video and doing like what we're doing here, and you're going through the discussion there. Here's the one on labels. Same thing. You've got all the plans and all the resources here that you can deliver this in a virtual environment. And that's where we've adapted some of those activities, some of those things to make it more relevant in an online setting rather than just an in-person setting. The next thing I want to highlight for you, if you click on training here, this will take you to a self-paced training overview. Now, I know with some of the challenges that you face in terms of getting time out of the classroom, finding subs, I know there's so many dynamics here that finding the time for this is difficult. And as we do trainings, we do live online trainings that we do over 2 days. We'll do them 4 hours per day for each day. If that's not an option for you, we've got this self-paced training review. You can see here we've got a completion, a percentage of your completion, the last date you completed one. And then as you go through here, each component of our training we make available for you here, including our training packet, and then all the way through each one of these concepts. So as you click on one of these, so I'll click on the reality ride, which is again that first lesson. As you click on these, this will pull up a video for you that you can use to really go over that portion of the training. Instead of in a 4-hour chunk, you do this in a 45 to 50 minute, all the way down to 10 minutes, some of the different segments that we have here. But this gives you a way to get access to all the training materials that you would have if you were attending the live training. We've just taken a recorded version of that and made it available for you. So you can see here, we have our trainer up in the right corner, and then they're sharing their screen and going through. This is a 45-minute training video around the reality ride. And so if you haven't been able to attend the live training, this is a great way for you to get the information you need on how to facilitate this discussion and use these tools. Now, those of you that have been trained, this can also be a really good review. You know, for many of you, you were trained 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, some of you 2 years ago. And so as you use these as review, it just gives you something that you can fall back on and lean on to make sure you're doing this to fidelity, to make sure you're maximizing the tools that we've put together here for you. So this one, again, is 45 minutes. I've got another one pulled up here. Getting Plugged In is another one of our resources and our visuals. And this one is a 9-minute video. And so as you're going through these, the idea is that you know, even if you're staying 1-2 weeks ahead, you can do it that way. Some groups are saying we're going to use this time right now where we're a little bit more online and make sure we're doing this during our PD days or PD time during the day or the week. So there's options for you to use that in a lot of different ways. You can mark it as complete, and that'll show up as completed on your list there. Any questions around these training components and these training videos here? Perfect. All right. The next thing I want to show you, just a couple more things. And again, if you've got questions, I'm happy to go over any questions you've got and really talk through some of those things for you. But the next thing I want to show you is we've done a reframe on some of our journal prompts. And so as you look at the journal prompts, it used to just say elementary and secondary. And what we've done, we really we're calling them resilience boosters. And so as you go into each one of these, and I'll pull up the reality right here so you can see how we've updated these prompts. We've really recategorized it. So these are the journal ones. These are the art activities. These are the game plan or music activities. All of this is designed to make it really easy for you to make sure that you're using the most effective tools. So as you go into any one of these, you have a PDF or a Word doc. If you need to adapt some of these things in that Word document, you can actually adapt some of the wording on some of these journal prompts. And so this is really easy for you to download. You can print it. Some groups I've worked with there, when they're using these journal prompts, if the kids won't write, if that's really a struggle for them, put this up on the board or on the screen, and now you use it as a discussion prompt. So there's a lot of different ways you can use these. And so most of these, you can see, they're very simple. It doesn't have to be something that's necessarily specific to elementary or secondary. And so these journal prompts, we wanted to make sure you're using these and not skipping over them because previously they said elementary or secondary. So again, that's just a slight reframe that we've made. We're trying to just make it easier for you to utilize these and get the most out of them. One thing that we've spent a lot of time on is really, again, just trying to give you good content, good resources. We've done a whole, we've got this training portal page for your district that's specifically set up for any recordings or things that we do. We'll post this recording of what we're doing here. We'll post this on this video here. So it'll be on this page. So you can have a little library of content that's specific to your district. And if there's any things that you want us to put up, let us know. We can load those up here and make that easy for your team and for your staff to make sure that they're maximizing the resources that we've got here. Another thing that you'll see now, so now we've left the WhyTry program page and now we're on our whytry.org site. We've done a whole series of different webinars around different topics. We've got one coming up around avoiding burnout and finding hope for teachers and educators during the health crisis. We did one last week on equity and hope in this time of chaos. All of these webinars were designed to really give you good content that we bring in different experts and leaders from around the country that are experts in these different topics and just give you some resources and tools that you can use. A lot of groups I'm working with will use this as, maybe showing just a small snippet during staff development trainings or meetings that they have on a regular basis. There's a lot of things that you can use here as you go back through these. Similarly, we've got a podcast that we put together, the Resilience Breakthrough podcast. It takes our founder, Christian Moore, who authored the book, The Resilience Breakthrough, and founded our program and approach. He interviews several different experts around the country in more of a podcast, long-form discussion. Erin Gurel from Freedom Writers had some foundational, powerful tools that she continues and people around the country continue to use. We've got experts around the healing power, positive self-talk, discovering our inner purpose. This was a powerful discussion on servant leadership from a gentleman named Kemi Joseph. He's actually one of our trainers. And so there's a lot of different content that you can utilize to help give yourselves or your staff additional tools and additional resources on what others are doing around the country. And so those podcasts can be a really, really good resource for you. The last thing I want to share with you here, and this is something that we're really excited about. This is something we've worked on for years, and it's come together in the last 7 or 8 months. And this is a parent guide to resilience. If you click on this, this has a video kind of talking about how we can help resilience and that discussion happen in the home. There's many homes where this discussion is happening. And this, for those homes, will just be an added resource, maybe a little bit different way on how to view this. And so as you look at each one of these chapters, there's 10 chapters here. We wanted this to be something simple that can be, again, used in the homes. And so we've broken it down by the different topics around resilience that we identify in the book. And we boiled it down to those key concepts in how to use this in a home setting. And so this one is chapter 2 of Building a Resilient Family. I want to just highlight a couple of things that we've done here. So we put here the definition that we use for resilience, the ability to bounce back when you have a reason to shut down, but you fight on. As you scroll down here, we've got a brief table of contents for this chapter, an audio version if they want to listen to it while they're driving in the car, or if they want to listen to it as a family. We have a little video about this chapter. And then as you go through here, now put this on from the perspective of the caregivers or the parents or the grandparents, whomever is going through this in the home. Now we have a model of how they can highlight some of the things that they've done to build a resilient family. So we talk about working towards a resilient mindset, developing resilience, making sure we're on the same page. Where have we seen examples of resilience in our own lives? Let's talk about this, where I've seen you be resilient or where you've seen me be resilient. Now let's talk about where we've seen our kids and where they've been resilient. How did they respond to those challenges? What are some things that they're facing that are going to be difficult for them? This pandemic has been so challenging in so many different ways. There's a lot of examples where you've seen people in your community, you've seen some of your students, they have been so resilient during this time, and it's been amazing. And we want to highlight that resilience. We want to help them recognize that's resilience. That's powerful what you've done. And so from here, once we have that kind of outline, now we have a resilience family meeting that you can utilize that goes through a simple walkthrough of how you can have this discussion in your home. We start with a simple activity that highlights, when you're doing something a different way. It might feel different at first, but as you repeat that behavior, as you continue to do it, you get better at that. You get more comfortable with this. One example I'll use is you think about where we were 6 months ago on April 7th and how different things are now 6 months later where we are. We're not totally comfortable with it, but we're figuring out models and ways to use this effectively and use these tools. That's an example of resilience. And now sharing examples where you've seen your kids be resilient. The way you responded when you couldn't have that tournament, or we lost that dance, or we couldn't do that vacation, or whatever it was. There's so many challenges that as you look through their own resilience and highlight that resilience, it just helps them reframe that in their minds a little bit. And then giving them an opportunity to express where they've seen resilience in their community, in their friends, in our family. And then giving ideas, thinking about what would it look like if we were to build a more resilient family. I've yet to meet a family that couldn't be more resilient. And so as you start looking at things that you could do, this is where we build that, again, back to that resilient mindset. When a challenge comes, how can we look at this as an opportunity to show our resilience? How can we use this as an example of, okay, if I'm going to have a resilient mindset, how am I going to respond? What would our family look like if we went through that? And so all of this, again, is just trying to give you a way that you can use this in the homes, a tool that you can use. Many groups that are using this as webinars, as community engagement events. They're using this content and modeling some of those things in that environment. So again, all of our tools, we're trying to help give you more resources, more tools, making it easier for you to use these. And as you get going and go through these, if you have questions or you run into stumbling blocks, that's part of what I'm here, is to answer any questions for you. I've got a whole wealth of knowledge of trainers who've used this all across the country. I work with other groups in similar environments and similar situations and challenges where they're trying to figure this out. So know that I'm always a resource for you here, and I'm always happy to help. Again, my email is markm@whytry.org, or you can also call me at 801-705-6145. I'm happy to walk through any of these in more detail if that's helpful for you. And definitely, as you think of questions, let me know. Before we close here, are there any questions from the group that I've got here before we wrap up here?
Nope.
Perfect. Well, truly, this is something I'm grateful to be a part of in some small way. I know some of your kids in your schools are the most resilient kids in this country. I know there's a lot of people that don't always see it that way. And what we want to try to do is help your staff have that perspective that resilience is often just an untapped resource in these kids, or it's a resource that they've used their whole lives. And we want to just make sure whether they have been resilient in the past or they haven't been, that we can give them those skills of resilience that will help them through whatever challenge they face here in school this year or in the coming years throughout their life. So thank you for everything you're doing, and truly know that I want to be a resource for you here. If there's anything I can help you with, I'm always happy to do that. So thank you so much for taking this time and for having this discussion here.